All right, it's 6:30. I want to call the meeting to order. Ms. Wilson, I have confirmation of the media.
Yes, sir, there was no problem.
All right, thank you very much. I have declaration of quorum. We have perfect attendance. And do I hear a request for approval of the agenda?
So moved to accept the agenda as outlined.
Ms. Ware made a motion, second.
Second.
Mr. Carpenter, any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight, both the ones that's here and with us on the internet. Thank y'all for coming, listening in. We appreciate y'all's concern for the school district. Ms. Martin, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I will. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Do I have approval for the minutes of both the September 28th meeting and the October 6th meeting, which was our phone teleconference meeting?
Okay. I make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 28th meeting as well as the October 6th, 2020 meeting.
Second.
We have a motion, Ms. Ware, second, Ms. Martin. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Ayes have it, unanimous vote. All right, from there we'll move in right into Dr. Thomas, Superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Chairman Bell and members of the board. It's hard to believe that we are approaching the end of October. It's been an unprecedented year as our district and community continue to deal with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Even in these uncertain times, in this uncertain school year, we have been extremely busy. Time has flown by, and many great things are happening in Lawrence 55. Thank you to the students, the parents, school board, teachers, staff, and administrators who've worked tirelessly to make these milestones possible, and we continue to keep safety at the forefront of our work. Instruction has still been a major focus. The district office staff have been making school visits to help support instruction and safety at the building levels. We've also been doing instructional learning walks for our in-building, in face-to-face classes, as well as our virtual classes as well. So Lawrence 55 is truly a great place to be. In a called superintendent's meeting that was held via conference call with State Superintendent Molly Spearman on October the 19th, it was announced that school districts will receive allocations on a per-pupil basis with the poverty index included as well from the coronavirus relief funds of the CARES Act. This is a change from the previous method that was to be used, in which districts completed reports and we were supposed to ask for reimbursements. So this was a change in the way that we would do this. Our estimated allocation is around $636,000. So we're very excited about that. Before, we were going to have to spend those funds by the end of December. That has been extended as well. So now we will be able to spend those funds by September 30th of 2021. The newly announced allocations may be spent in the following 4 areas: school safety measures in response to COVID-19, school nurse contract for schools without a full-time nurse, tutoring, supplemental and/or support services, and then technology, which also would include the internet. Item 2 would not apply to us as we do have full-time nurses in all of our schools. Again, the deadline originally for using these funds was scheduled for December 30th, 2020. We're glad that that has been extended to September 30th, 2021. We are awaiting additional information to determine whether or not these allocations will be able to cover expenditures already incurred by the district. We were also informed during this conference call as well that the hotspots obtained through the state will now be paid through June the 30th, 2021. So we're also excited about this extension as well. The original date was December 30th, 2020. So we're excited that the state will fund these hotspots through the end of the school year. The South Carolina Department of Education is finalizing a request to the United States Department of Education, which will seek to waive federal testing requirements for the school year.
Dr. Thomas, do you mind if we back up and I ask a question based on this information before we move to
Okay,
the
sure.
testing? How much money have we spent so far as a district on our COVID?
Most of, as far as especially the plexiglass that we just received, all of that was funded by the state. So in essence, we had actually already done the reports and the paperwork for the reimbursement for a lot of those things. I do not have the exact figure with me.
We have spent approximately another $100,000 on additional PPE, which includes protection for gowns and gloves and nurses, and we also have probably another 50 or 75,000 to do hand sanitizing and sanitizing equipment and that kind of stuff. So probably just shy of $200,000 that we've already spent outside of these funds prior to that.
So these funds here are already spent.
We also have the $1.6 million of CARES allocation that we got at the beginning of the summer. And so most of those expenses have already been incurred in that pot of money. But we were going to be allowed to reimburse ourselves for those expenses out of this, because these funds, the Corona Relief Funds, the CRF funds, were supposed to end in December.
Right.
And that our CARES money goes longer than that, so they were going to let us swap those out, but now they've just gone ahead and allowed the Corona Relief Funds to last all year.
Okay. One other question, as far as the tutoring part. I know that there were some parents that were concerned about their students really struggling, and there were some comments made about, you know, helping to get a tutor or something. Do we provide those, or, I mean, is that something that parents can contact the district and request to have a tutor that's free to them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we will be providing this through our, actually our staff, our certified teachers as well. There's a possibility of even looking for some additional tutors that we can bring in. But as of now, we will be doing some things after school, before school, in order to provide tutoring for the students.
And that's not a cost to
Not
the
a
parents?
cost to parents, correct.
Okay.
But is tutoring only for like those who are coming back, not virtual, or it could be for virtual if they're bought?
It could be for virtual as well.
They can be bought in?
We could do it to where they may come in, or we also have virtual tutoring as well.
Was this something we were providing before, or this is just something that has started with this funding?
We have had discussions about ways that we could do it, but especially when we realized we would have this funding available, we thought that we could extend some of the things that we were already thinking or already had in place with some of our after-school programs and our tutoring that happens on our different campuses. So this will allow us to open that up and be able to provide some additional tutoring services for our students.
Have we had parents contact the district asking about getting help?
We've had a few parents, but we have not had overwhelming response yet. So our plan is to definitely get some information out. We just received this information as far as the allocation on Friday, or it may have been even been over the weekend that we received the information. So now that we do have this in place, we're working on getting the information out so that the parents can contact the schools, or we can be able to set this up for our students.
Okay. That's good. I'm glad to hear that, because I think especially with the students that have been on the e-learning that have really been struggling, I think that's a good thing to have that tutoring aspect there. Thank
We're
you.
excited to be able to offer that to our students. Okay. With looking at just kind of the accountability, the South Carolina Department of Education is in the process of finalizing a request to the United States Department of Education, which will seek to waive federal testing requirements for the school year. This would include our English language arts, mathematics, and science. The waiver is required by Act 142, which passed the South Carolina General Assembly in June of 2020. On October the 12th, the South Carolina Education Oversight Committee approved recommendations to administer state assessments to all students this school year, but to waive the school report card ratings. The recommendations are being forwarded to the South Carolina General Assembly at this time, but of course we are continuing and we're functioning under the lens that we will take all of the required standardized testing. So we're functioning from that aspect.
Let me ask you another question for any, like you got what is the cognac, what testing is coming up soon? Do students who are virtual, do they all come back to the school for any testing that we may have within those bigger tests?
Yes, ma'am. There are times when they will come back to campus for those assessments.
Okay.
There are some assessments that they are doing virtually online as well.
Okay. Because I know some parents do work and they don't always know about, I don't know, hopefully the students or the information is still being sent to them.
Yes, ma'am.
Just because I know some children will not tell their parents about it.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm thinking
The
one's coming up.
information is being sent to the parents.
Okay.
Okay. We have received notification from the U.S. Department of Agriculture that they've extended the child nutrition waivers to allow our Department of Student Nutrition Services to continue providing free meals to anyone in the community 18 years of age or younger through June the 30th, 2021. USDA previously extended the waivers through December, so we're excited that they've also extended those through June of 2021. Last week, our student nutrition department served over 8,000 meals daily, and I was talking to Ms. Wanda Knight today, and we surpassed that number today. So we're very excited and thankful for the work that our student nutrition services continue to do each day with feeding our students. As of today, we've welcomed back all of our elementary students who selected the face-to-face on-campus learning option. So we're excited to have all of our elementary students face-to-face back in the building. We phased in the following grade levels and groups of students to date. For 5 days a week instruction, our 4K through 5th grade students are all 5 days a week face-to-face. All self-contained special education students, all special education high school credential students, all special education resource students, 4K through 5th grade, and our 12th grade, our English language learners, 4K through 5th grade and 12th grade, are all 5 days a week. As far as our students who are currently attending 4 days a week for face-to-face instruction, includes our English language learners in grades 6 through 11, our special education resource students in grades 6 through 11, our 6th grade students, as well as our 12th grade students are all attending 4 days a week face-to-face instruction. So we are still operating on the hybrid model for students in grades 7 through 11. For those students that are not in the above-mentioned groups, they are continuing to operate in the hybrid learning phase of operation. So the green team will continue to attend on Mondays and Tuesdays. The gold team will continue to attend on Thursdays and Fridays. As we gear up to welcome back more students who've selected on-campus learning, safety protocols will be more important than ever. The phase-in of students to face-to-face instruction has gone well so far. We will continue to diligently practice safety protocols in an effort to provide the safest environment possible to our students and staff. We are aiming to keep our COVID numbers low. You can always check the COVID-19 dashboard on our website for an overview of the positive cases by school, as well as the numbers of those who are in quarantine. And this is updated each week on Fridays, so the report that is currently up is current as of last Friday, and so that's updated weekly. Our protocols follow the South Carolina DHEC guidelines. Masks are still required. We're still doing temperature checks prior to entering the building. In addition, our school bus riders are being seated one per seat unless they are from the same household or from the same family in the same household. As a reminder, in the event of a positive COVID-19 case, each campus or department will follow the 3 C's. Contain, meaning we do have isolation areas in the buildings, so the students or staff will wait for departure in the isolation room on each campus. Contact, all of those who've been in close contact with individuals are notified. And communicate. We will share this information about confirmed cases with our community. We are hoping to have additional plexiglass by November the 12th. Shipping is delayed. We do know that. We received that information. So that's not a definite date, but we are hopeful that we will receive the additional plexiglass by November the 12th. So we're hopeful. With that being said, we don't know how many shipments we would have, so we will be hopeful that we will be able to phase in, have all students phased in, hopefully by November the 30th. Without objections from the board, I will continue with plans for phase in as we've been doing as we receive additional plexiglass and as we're able to safely do so with making the necessary spacing and room adjustments that are required.
Dr. Thomas, what would be your next grade or grades that you would look to phase in?
Part of that would be contingent upon the amount of PPE plexiglass that we will receive. Although we've had discussions with administrators and also with the district office staff as well. So we're looking at our 9th graders for the high school as being part of that next phase in. And we're also looking at our middle school students as well, 7th and 8th graders. And again, all of this would be contingent upon the quantity of plexiglass that we will receive and the date that we do have that. We were able to very quickly, thankfully, to a lot of the staff here and the school staff as well. Once we had the shipment to come in, we were able to get that out to the schools and in place so that we could have a pretty quick turnaround to get the students back in face-to-face. So as soon as we know that it's going to be here, I'm constantly asking, have we received a shipping confirmation or delivery date yet? So we're constantly checking to see when we might receive that information.
Any questions? Thank you, Dr.
She wasn't finished.
I don't think she's finished.
She's not finished.
I didn't know you quit that.
Nah, she's just answering questions.
Okay, now moving into our virtual academy.
All right, let's keep going. Been a lot going
It
on.
has been. Told you we've been very busy. So registration for the virtual academy opened up today. It started today and it will run through Friday, November the 13th. The registration information has been posted on the district website in both English and Spanish. We've also emailed the information to parents, and we're sending a call alert this evening. With a one-day turnaround between the first and second semester, it is important that the parents submit their intentions for the second semester as soon as possible after they receive the information. It was a pleasure to meet with the Superintendent's Teacher Advisory Council last week. This group is composed of school-level teachers of the year. The purpose of this council is to provide an important voice for teachers and staff in the district's decision-making process, and to provide me with insights, suggestions, and perspectives on critical educational issues. I think this will ultimately lead to creating a performance culture focused on student achievement. The forum provides teachers the opportunity to have direct communication and interaction with each other, as well as the constant dialogue with me. The intent is to help to cultivate a safe, nurturing teaching and learning environment for all students and staff. Representatives at the last meeting were asked to share information from our meeting with their colleagues, and also to seek input from their colleagues about matters or concerns to be able to present at the next meeting, and even to just share with me in between as well. The Lawrence District High School varsity football game against Hillcrest, scheduled for November the 6th, was supposed to be our homecoming game. However, that game has been canceled due to Hillcrest having complications with COVID. Hillcrest will have to make up a region game with TL Hanna on that date. So due to these circumstances, the Lawrence District High School's homecoming and senior night will be held on this Friday, October the 30th. This is the only remaining home game on the schedule at this time. Coach Spires is searching for an opponent for November the 6th, but there's no guarantee that that game will be rescheduled or that that game will be held at home for us. We're also excited to announce that we will have a virtual parent night meeting. This will be a live stream event that will be held on Tuesday, November the 17th at 5:30 for parents and students. This meeting will focus on media awareness for families. There will also be information on cell phone, internet safety, and awareness for children and parents. In a time where we're really relying heavily on technology, I really think this will be a great opportunity for our parents and our students to be a part of. Mr. Todd Johnson will be leading this meeting. You can register for this event through the link that will be posted on our district website. As far as technology update, we're excited that all of our 2-in-1 devices have been delivered to the schools. I know a lot of those devices have already been distributed to students, or they're in the process of being distributed to students. They're being checked out to our 5K and first grade students. Other technology news, we have 125 Gen 4 Chromebooks that have been prepared for distribution to replace any older Gen 2 Chromebooks that are still in use. Our Reading Eggs and Math Seeds, which are some computer programs that we have that we were having some difficulties with, are now fully functional. We have 381 hotspots that have been signed out to date. And our Google license has been upgraded to the enterprise version, which is a much more secure version. So we're excited about that as well. It will also allow us to use a lot of the enhancements that were recently released by Google. In addition, we have changed our content filter to an all cloud solution, and these changes were necessary to keep pace with the significant increase in the district devices that have recently taken place. And also, in order to address and hopefully eliminate some of the concerns that we've had with our Google Meets links, we have turn those off for students at 6. We turn them on for students at 6 a.m. and we turn them off at 8 p.m. each night. So this again is to help to ensure some of the safety as well as to alleviate some of the concerns that we've had with some misuse of things that have happened with our Google Meet links. It will also be turned off during the weekends. As you all are aware, the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control requires that students have certain immunizations in order to be able to attend any schools in the state. This includes our in-person students as well as our virtual students. And so this information was provided to parents at the end of the school year, at the beginning of the school year, and also the information is posted on the website. In Lawrence 55, we have approximately 50 students that do not have the proper documentation that confirms that they received their required vaccines. Those families have been notified, they received information and a mailing from Dr. Penland last week as well of this reminder to let them know that their students will not be able to attend school until the student's immunization reflects that they have the required vaccinations, or a doctor has provided a medical exemption of the South Carolina immunization, or a parent or guardian signs the religious exemption. So the students will not be able to attend until those requirements are met. Absences due to immunization are coded as such, and so they are absences. So although the student may be able to do their assignments, may be able to complete their work and get graded for that, they will not be counted present during this time. Also, I know that you all have heard about the possible storm, and so that may affect our area. So although it may not materialize into any conditions for our area, I just want you all to know that we are closely monitoring any possible impacts from Storm Zeta that is predicted to make landfall later this week. Should our area be in any type of watch or warning, we will quickly make decisions to ensure the safety of our students and staff, and we'll make sure that that communication is sent to all stakeholders.
Dr. Thomas, can we back up? I have one question on the immunizations.
Okay.
So the letter that was sent out, did that allow parents, you have 3 days to bring resolution to this, and or was it simply your child can't come back in the building until this is resolved?
There was a series of information and mailings that went out prior to this one, so the parents had been notified previously to let them know you have 30 days or you have until this date. So they've had significant amount of time to know that this is coming. It wasn't just you can't come back.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to take this opportunity to publicly thank all of our Lawrence 55 staff, teachers, administrators, students, and community members for their patience and support during these unprecedented times. I'm very optimistic that we've had such a wonderful few weeks of welcoming students back on campus and seeing them virtually as well for those in our virtual academy. That things are going well, and I'm very, very excited about that. So let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep our safety protocols and precautions at the forefront and keep celebrating the amazing work we have accomplished together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Appreciate what all y'all have done, all the teachers, the staff, and all. Ms. Abercrombie, if you would.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Chairman Bell, school board members, and Dr. Thomas for allowing me to come this evening and present some exciting things that have been happening from the Department of Teaching and Learning. So I just want to take a few minutes just to update you on a few things. You know, at the beginning of every school year, we start out and we have to know that we have to be flexible and go with the changes. And this year, certainly, we had to begin and know that there was going to be many different opportunities to practice that. So as we started out this school year, just like all the other school years, we started with getting our rules, routines, and procedures in place, because we all understand and know that effective instruction cannot take place until we have all of those things in place. So the department has been working really hard to support teachers as we have tried to navigate through all of the different things with technology. And so we spent some time allowing teachers and our administrators at the school level to have some time to get all of that in place. And then we really hit the ground running with instruction, because that is at the core of everything that we do and the decisions that we make. So we realized early on that we needed to provide some things, some extra resources. And so through the department, we purchased, along with the help from Mr. Bill Finley and his approval, Pioneer Valley for our kindergarten through 5th grade students, so that we could provide that guided reading instruction virtually and continue that, since we had a lot of students in the virtual academy, as well as when we were doing our e-learning days. So through Pioneer Valley, that allowed us that small group instruction and one-on-one instruction with our guided reading. We also, through the funds, some of the funds that Dr. Thomas and Dr. Penland have spoken about tonight, we were able to purchase math manipulative sets for all of our kindergarten through 5th grade students. As you all know, the timeline for receiving things is not always as quickly as we would like it. So those finally arrived and we got those out to the schools last week. But even still, for our students that returned face-to-face this week, it will be very beneficial for them as they are in school or whether they are at home doing the virtual learning. So we are in the process of having all of those distributed as well. So you know, at the beginning of the year, our first week really with our elementary and middle school and 9th grade students was during Leap Week. And so during that time, that provided us some valuable information to help us understand and know where our students were coming in after the closing in the spring, and really looking at the data that we collected during Leap Week, and then all of the weeks that we've been in school collecting formative data and doing assessments each day and each week. That has really given us a really good idea of where our students are and the gaps that they have and the areas that we need to help them with. And so along with, I wanted to share with you, the State Department of Education in September released a document, and it's the South Carolina Priority Support and Learning Standards. And so this is a very valuable tool for us. You know, it's important for us to remember that all standards are important, but how we teach those standards can be critical sometimes. Sometimes we want to spend extra time on standards that we think are more important than others. So this document kind of outlines and gives us some ideas of the indicators that support each of the standards. So this document is for all of our kindergarten through 12th grade students. It starts with kindergarten standards all the way through English 4. It's also for, in math, our kindergarten through 8th grade students, along with Algebra 1 and 2, geometry, probability and statistics, and pre-calculus and calculus. So all of these standards will be taught this year just like any other year. We're not omitting any standards. It's not watering down the standards. Our department right now, we are currently going through some intensive training with the State Department on rolling these out to our teachers. In turn, we have already shared information with the principals as well as with the instructional coaches for them to go back and support the teachers and train them in looking at these standards at in an in-depth way. And so the purpose of this document is to really just allow us to dive deep into the standard and to really see where the students' learning needs are, and then take the indicators from all of the standards and scaffold that learning so that we can close that gap and we can move students to mastery of the standard. And so that's the purpose of it. And it really is something that is strategic and focused, and it helps us to see the best pathway to help students gain that mastery. And so we're currently working with instructional coaches now to provide this training to them as well. And that is an ongoing year-long training and support that we will be receiving from the State Department as we pass that information along to our building level administrators and instructional coaches for them to share. So when we go out as district administrators, when principals and administration at the school level go through the classrooms and do their walkthroughs, and as we're out visiting, it really helps us to be mindful of what we are seeing in the classroom so that we can in turn provide that professional development and support that we need for each school that is specific to their needs. Also from the State Department this year, I wanted to make you aware that we have new science standards. So those came out this year, and it is for all grade levels, kindergarten through 8th grade, as well as biology, chemistry, physics, earth, and space science. So these currently are up for public review, and they are located on the State Department website if you're interested, and that review will be through November the 29th. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Next year, during the 2021-2022 school year, that will be the bridge year where the State Department will offer professional development on these standards. And then for 2022-2023 school year, that will be the full implementation year that will be a tested year as well as we teach all of those standards. So we have pushed this out again through our instructional coaches at the school levels. They are meeting with teachers and discussing these standards, looking at how they're different from the standards that we had this year, if there are any changes by grade level. And they will have an opportunity to provide that feedback, and you all do as well. So it is open to the public. So if you're interested, again, you can find those on the website. And you have until 5 p.m. on November the 29th to make any recommendations. I will say that these standards were adopted through the State Department, and they utilized local school districts as well as administration at the district level across the state. They also had community members, industry, businesses, parents, so it was a network of a lot of different stakeholders coming together to develop these standards.
Ms. Abercrombie, are those,
Yes.
when they provide you guys with those standards to review, do they outline the changes, or do you have to line by line? I was a part of that last year, and
Right.
without a line by line saying this is what we've changed, I would imagine that would be an enormous undertaking to go through and determine what's been changed.
Sometimes they do, but usually when the coaches are meeting with the teachers, they're very familiar with what the content that they're teaching, and sometimes things might shift from a grade level from 1st to 2nd grade, or things might be removed and new things added. So as we get closer to that time, there'll be a crosswalk that would give us that information.
Gotcha.
Dr. Thomas has already shared a little bit of information about the virtual academy. I just wanted to say we are in the process of, we finally got Calvert Learning Platform in place. It was a struggle. I would like to thank Mr. Bill Finley. He worked tireless hours to get our information to Edmonton. The week before we were supposed to go live on our Calvert platform, their system crashed, and they had to do some major systems change that weekend, and they lost all of the information that had been sent for us to be able to log on for our students and our teacher information and the coursework. So we kind of had to start over with that, but it took about a week and a half to get that together. So we've had Calvert going for a few weeks now. We're still in the early stages of implementation, and we are utilizing it and moving forward to provide those opportunities for students in the Lawrence Virtual Academy. We also, since the end of September, 1st of October, have had several planning meetings with the administration in Lawrence 56. We did that to begin the conversations about planning for second semester, because that is something that will take some time. And so through those meetings, we designated together that we would open registration today, and it would go through Friday, November the 13th. And so we will, once we close registration, that will give us some time to prepare, especially at the high school, for the number of students that we have and getting those schedules in place. And so it will be important for us to be transparent through this process. And so I must say that we definitely know there will be changes at the high school. But we need to be prepared in case there are any changes for the elementary and middle as well, because it is going to be based on the numbers of students that want to transfer from one program to the other. So it might be that there are some students and teachers that have to be moved from face-to-face to virtual, or from virtual to face-to-face, depending on the numbers that are wanting to come out or to go in. So we will work through that information, and as soon as we can share information, we will, and we will notify parents of those changes as soon as possible. So I'd just like to close by saying thank you. I appreciate everything that you do to support us and to keep us moving forward. And I would just like to say that this week is Read Aloud to a Child Week. So if you have a special child in your life, please take the time to take a moment to share a book and to read with someone close to you. And I just want you to know that in the Office of Teaching and Learning, we are working diligently to continue progressively moving forward with providing explicit, meaningful, and purposeful instruction, whether our children are face-to-face, whether it's a hybrid e-learning day, or whether we are in the virtual academy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abercrombie. Any further questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, next on the agenda is the report from Ms. Martin from the Committee on Public Participation.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. So, as y'all know, Mr. Bell nominated this committee of Ms. Ware, myself, and Mr. Hughes to look at the policy BEDH, which is the public participation policy, and also to meet and talk about how that we could open back up the meetings to the public. We met on October the 9th, and we were given information from Dr. Penland that he had come in and measured this room here, and in our conversations we found that if we put the staff members, the district staff members that would be responding directly in the district meetings, such as Mr. Lawless or Dr. Penland or another teacher or whatever, they would be on the front row here. Back behind that, that would allow for 25 people to be socially distanced within the room. We could also have an overflow into the lobby area that could easily seat 15 more people. So you're looking at a total of 40 people. That out in the lobby area is a monitor that they could watch. They wouldn't actually be in this room, but there would be a monitor out there. As far as the public participation part of it, really nothing on that policy changed per se. We still have the part in place where if a person wanted to be on the agenda, you know, they have to get their request for that the Tuesday before the meeting because it has to be on the agenda. That's still part of the policy that was there before. The only thing that's changed with that part is that we're now requiring that they complete a form to show, and that's attached here, That is the one that is Form A, that they would complete, and that's to be put on the agenda. That allows them the 5 minutes to speak. The other portion that was public participation, where they came in the day of the meeting and had to sign up 30 minutes prior to the meeting started, we have now moved that to another form, which is Form B, and they have to have that submitted by noon the day of the meeting. And what this does is it allows for us to be able to plan accordingly for the number of people that's going to come in, and know that how many people are going to come in, that kind of thing. Also, outside of the ones that would be signing up to speak, and I'll back up on the public participation thing, nothing on that part has changed either, because it's still, our public participation was 15 minutes, which was 3 minutes a person, which allows for 5 people. So when you go on the website to fill out that form, once it reaches 5 people, it's not going to allow any more people to sign up to speak. So that's the catch-all phrase. Is that correct? That's how that was set up correctly? Okay. And then the other thing is that if you want to reserve a seat for attending the meeting, and this just helps us to know if we're in this room or if we need to provide for overflow out into the lobby. And there's an Eventbrite, you'll see that in here as well. The only thing that I noticed here, Ms. Wilson, was that it has the total number of 25 on the Eventbrite. We may need to change that to 40, because the only thing that would be different is that these same protocols about the Eventbrite signing up to attend a meeting would be the same for any board activity meeting. It doesn't have to be a board meeting. It could be a workshop. It could be a committee meeting. It could be anything that the public can attend. If it's during work day time frame, like we had this committee meeting, then it would only be 25. We would not allow the overflow out into the lobby. So, but on a school board meeting where it's in the evening, then you would have the 25 in here, and you would have the overflow 15 out into the lobby. So that would allow for 40 people to be able to come. And that would be including the 5 people that would sign up to speak as well if they were signing up. So those were the things that we decided as far as being able to bring the public back in. We would agree to follow the guidelines of the CDC, which would, go along with what we're doing everywhere else. We would ask that people wear a mask. We're going to temperature check people when they come in. We're going to have hand sanitizers. We're going to request that when they speak that, they're not touching the microphone. We're going to wipe down the podium and stuff in between each person. Did I leave anything out?
I think that's it.
Is there anything else? So based on all of that, then we have a request to bring this back, to open this policy back up. It's going to require to lift the suspension for the policy. There's a list of 5 items here.
Did you say come in for public participation prior to the meeting versus at the end?
The one other thing. We are requesting as well that the public participation is going to be moved to the beginning of the meeting instead of at the end. It would be that changes the policy. And so we were going to move it to right after the confirmation of the Pledge of Allegiance, right after the Pledge of Allegiance. we would have public participation.
And that will be for what reason?
We would just move it to the beginning of the meeting instead of putting it at the end. We just felt that it would be,
Probably most people might leave after that anyway and not necessarily, they may not necessarily.
there's a lot of
all sit
other
through the
boards
meeting.
that go ahead and have
Okay.
their,
Well, I got a question about the 15 minutes that we allowing. Say if you have one person, only one person to sign up to speak, and that
they have
person-
3 minutes.
Huh?
They have 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what our policy states.
You missed the point. I'm saying that we allowing 15 minutes for.
No, we're giving them 3 minutes
Per person.
per
To-
person.
Total of
15 is
15
total
minutes.
I understand that. That's not my question.
Okay.
What's
I
your
said my
question?
question is, if you only have one person to apply and they ask for 2 additional minutes, are we going to
No.
grant that?
No,
Why?
no, you just get 3 minutes.
Unless like everybody, 5 people sign up and yield their time to that one person.
Yeah. I just said 5 people wasn't coming, only one person signed up.
I know, but I'm saying if 5 people were to come and yield that time to that one person, that's permissible. That would be.
I don't think that's in our policy.
No, it's not, but I know it's been done that way in the past.
But
It
that's
has
not
been.
in our policy,
Right.
that they're allowed to yield their time to somebody else.
I'm not asking anybody to yield no time. It's not even a question.
I can't understand what
But it
you're
would be
saying.
still that one person to get only 3 minutes.
I understand that.
Oh, okay.
My thing is that we're granting 15 minutes for public speaking. Okay? If we only have one person to sign up, if they requested 2 extra minutes, what's the problem?
Because our policy states that we are gonna give a person 3 minutes to speak, and that's what our policy has been from the time that we adopted public participation into our policy manual. That we have a total of 15 minutes that we set aside in our board meetings for public participation, and it's 3 minutes per person.
It makes no sense to me. But who's going to monitor inside and outside?
The district will provide somebody that is going to be monitoring the inside and outside per Dr. Penland's. We asked him that, and he said that someone from the district would also be doing the temperature checks on the people that are coming in and out.
Making sure they got masks. We have to wear them as well.
You have to what?
Pardon?
We have to what?
We have to wear our mask as well. Lead by example.
I just have a question more as a point of just making sure I followed everything that you said. So if we're asking someone, or if we're allowing someone to come in and be on the agenda, they complete one form and it's due the Tuesday before, because that's when the agenda's published.
Correct.
But if we're only asking, or if we're only allowing, or if they're only wanting to come in just to speak, at the beginning of the session for their 3 minutes, then that's due the day of the board meeting.
By noon.
Okay, thank you.
And those forms will be on the website, and I guess the school, is that what, or just the
I guess
district?
The plan was, we didn't do anything until the board, it was presented for board approval. If the board approves it, then those forms will be, online for for them to fill out that day. They'll go live at 12 on the day of the meeting for the 3-minute ones, is that correct?
Right, because we want to give the people who want to speak the time to sign up, because we have a limited number of seats. So we won't open it up to just general seating until after that 12 noon deadline on Friday. And then that, whatever seats are still remaining, minus anybody who's on the agenda and anybody who signs up to speak publicly, those will be the seats that will be available through Eventbrite for them at noon on that day. So we will have to adjust the Eventbrite number of seats or tickets available based on the number of actual seats that are
They
available
have
after people
signed
sign
up
up.
prior to.
Right.
And the policy states how many can sign up to be on the agenda?
It does not state one way or the other.
Okay. And they get 5 minutes.
Now, what if someone, if we're not at max capacity and someone just shows up at the door, not to speak, but just to come in and hear the board meeting? Are we going to allow them to come in? Like if we haven't met our number yet, would we still allow them to come in and only turn them away if we're at max capacity?
That would be have to be at the board's discretion. And I think one of the big reasons to have people to sign up is with the limited seating, we don't want somebody driving from Bridgeport or anywhere as far as that goes, and then get here and they don't have a seat.
Oh, well, I totally understand that. I'm just saying, if someone said, okay, I happen to be in town, I'm gonna go by, and there's an extra seat, we're like, sure, you can come in because there's an extra seat, but if there's not an extra seat, I'm sorry, you had to sign up.
And I think we just would have to take that on a case-by-case basis if that occurred. We certainly would be courteous and do everything we could to accommodate anybody who came.
Any other questions, discussions on? Yeah, so Ms. Martin, are y'all making a recommendation in the form of a motion?
This is the motion listed here that is in your packet. That would need to be lifted to allow public participation in board meetings, and of course this would be effective immediately. It wouldn't just go until the next board meeting, because in case we had a committee meeting or a work session or anything, it would be effective immediately.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to adopt these rules immediately. They would take effect at the next meeting.
No, they take effect. They take effect by approval tonight, because it could be a committee meeting or it could be a work session or.
Correct. They would be effective at the next meeting if approved.
Before.
They would be effective now because.
They're effective
Upon
upon
approval.
approval. Right.
Right.
Could someone read the full motion for the audience so that the audience hears the full motion?
Yeah, please do.
You want me to?
Would you like me to read it? Are you gonna?
Go ahead, make a motion.
I make a motion to lift the suspension of the following elements of policy BEDH. 1, reinstate the process for citizens to participate by submitting a written request for placement of an item on the agenda following the guidelines in paragraph 3 through 6 of policy BEDH. 2, reinstate public participation time still limited to a total of 15 minutes with a maximum of 3 minutes per participant as an element of the agenda to be placed at the beginning of the agenda prior to any district reports. The form requesting the opportunity must be submitted to the district office by noon on the day of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. 3, limited space based on social distancing requirements. Oh my gosh. Limited space based on social distancing requirements will be available for citizens wishing to attend the meeting but not planning to speak. Citizens will be able to reserve one of these seats between noon and 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Number 4, all public participants and attendees will be required to comply with health restrictions, including but not limited to the wearing of face mask and observation of appropriate social distancing. And number 5, all forms for public participation will be prominently located on the district's website at www.lawrence55.org.
Thank you, Ms. Lowe. Now, since this comes out of committee, it does not require a second. But we still, any other discussion or comments on it? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All in favor, show of hands. All in favor? Ayes have it, unanimously passed. So I want to thank y'all for the work you did. You've done a great job. I appreciate it.
They did all right, y'all.
All right, moving right along, we have the first reading of some policies from Mr. Murray. These policies will not require any action tonight. These are just to be presented to the board as information.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Thomas, members of the board. Let me preface this by saying that the policies brought forth for first reading tonight are either new policies or revisions to existing policies recommended by the South Carolina School Boards Association in their annual legislative review. With one exception, they are all changes or additions based on changes in law or regulations as defined by either federal or state agencies. The first policy I would like to bring to your attention is the exception to the rule, ACB on educational equity. This policy is recommended by the School Boards Association as a definitive policy statement on the board's commitment to an equitable education system. This recommended policy provides a set of guiding principles for the equitable operation of the school district. Any questions about that one?
Mr. Murray, so,
Yes.
and I don't know to address this to you or the board once we have the opportunity to discuss. I do have specific questions about the policy. Would you like for me to ask those now, or would you like to go through everything and then come back to that?
It's up to you. If you've got a question that I can't answer, I may not be able to answer it tonight, but if I can't answer it tonight, I'll certainly find an answer for you and get it
Well,
back to you.
and that's okay. I think it's just good for discussion. So this educational equity policy, it seems like there's multiple things within this policy that should already, one, either be in place or should already be housed within another policy. For example, and then there's other things that just seem to be an overriding factor, like an umbrella over some of our other policies, which I'm not sure that we need. So in the first sentence, it states, the board's committed to the provision of an equitable education system reflected in the educational opportunities offered to all students, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, English learner status, disability, and or other characteristics, as well as the intersection of these characteristics. What does and or other characteristics mean? And what's an example of that? And what do you mean by as well as the intersection of these characteristics?
Let me address the intersection of the characteristics first. It would be that if somebody had more than one of those characteristics, English learner status and socioeconomic status would be an intersection of those things. Other characteristics would be any other characteristics that might single a person out in an environment where they might not get equitable treatment because of that characteristic. So it's just a general umbrella term to make sure that everybody is included in that, which is the purpose of an equitable, of an educational equity policy.
But what's an example of that if you already have covered gender, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, English learner status, and disability?
I would offer as an example LGBTQ.
That's not referenced in our other policies, and to me, that's just throwing something in here that hasn't even been discussed among our board yet.
Well, and that's the purpose of first reading, is just to present it to you. And you have the opportunity as a board to either discuss it amongst yourselves after second reading before any motion is made to approve it, or to schedule a work session to discuss it if you feel like that, if the chair feels like that's appropriate to do.
Okay. And then in a few paragraphs down, says students will be encouraged and provided opportunities to pursue their goals and interests, to enroll in challenging programs, and to participate in school activities and interscholastic athletics without regard to biases, which you've already outlined those up here. So if you threw out, I actually had a different question about this paragraph, but if you threw out LGBTQ, then does that mean that those that say they are female but they are male can play in an alternate sport?
No, it does not mean, it does not mean that. We would follow South Carolina High School League guidelines on that particular issue.
Okay.
And that is referring to both those explicit and implicit biases that individuals may hold against a particular group.
And then within that scenario, one thing that popped in my mind was that we have a grade floor of a 50. And so to me, having that grade floor, and this is just a thought, of a 50, it's kind of just saying we don't have a high enough expectation of what you can do, so we're going to give you a 50 no matter what. It's like that already goes against the fact that we allow the grade floor. It's just, I'm not asking you to answer a question, I'm just saying that. I mean, you want to strive and you want, people rise to, no one rises to low expectations, and knowing that they already have a grade floor given to them wouldn't make me feel like you thought high enough of me to kind of make me push forward. And it references the district's curriculum. It says the district's curriculum will promote equity and respect and reflect the distinctive contributions of a diverse society, embedded culturally responsive teaching and practices. The district's curriculum, is there a different curriculum that we were going to provide to teachers to say, hey, here's some thoughts that we want you to incorporate into how you teach every day?
The curriculum would still be based on the state standards. So whatever the state standards are constitute our curriculum. And the state standards do include diverse elements within them. So it's just making sure that we are adhering to those elements of diversity that are already inherent in the state standards.
And any of the professional development that's mentioned on page 2, are those things that would be done in-house? Are those things, would that be at no cost to the district?
That would be, I'm just making a suggestion here that would be a part of our professional development plan and program each year, that we would look at those elements in that professional development planning process to determine what's best. And I'm certain Dr. Thomas would bring that to your attention at an appropriate time.
Okay.
Anything
Thank you.
else? Any other questions on that particular policy? Okay. The next new policy I will draw your attention to is policy GAB on lactation accommodation, which requires the district to provide reasonable accommodations for working mothers to express milk in the workplace. This is just establishing a policy that protects working mothers who may need special environments to make sure they're able to take care of their child effectively. Any questions on that one? Okay. Next, policies ACE.
Can I ask one question about that?
Yes.
Would that include students that may have the lactation accommodation?
That is a personnel policy.
Okay, so
So-
if we had a student that had a child that,
We do, I would have to check to see if we have any policy in policy J related to that right now. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can check that for you.
I'm just curious, if we
Yeah.
had one that may need to step away for that
Right.
during the day, or for that
Absolutely.
as well, if we were,
Yeah. This one is specifically based on Fair Labor Standards law, and that's why it applies to the personnel issue. But I will look into policy J to see if there's anything that reflects that there. Next policies ACE, GBGAA, JLCDD, and IMG refine and clarify district policies on the use of service animals. So we're really just clarifying on individual policies what are the provisions for the use of service animals by members of the public? That's policy ACE. Policy GBGA reflects our policy regarding service animals for staff members. Policy JLCDD reflects our policy on the use of service animals by students. Those three policies are all brand new policies, but those policies were breaking out from policy IMG, which is the fourth policy, which just is an overall policy on animals in schools. And this policy addresses things like classroom pets and that sort of thing in policy IMG. So all of those service animal issues and all animal issues used to be covered in policy IMG. We're just breaking those out into additional policies to reflect specific circumstances, particularly regarding the service animal issue.
Have we always had an exception for a miniature horse?
I thought that was funny too.
I mean,
If it's in policy IMG,
is it? I mean, when I read it, I was like, really? I mean, we're only going to allow a dog in, and then it said, except for miniature horses.
that's on the service animal one.
Yeah. On all of them. I mean, it's like it won't allow any other animal except for a miniature horse.
Yeah.
I mean, that would seem like a little much to be in a building.
But the miniature horse still has to meet all the specific requirements to be allowed in the building.
I understand that,
So,
but
Throw in a giraffe every now and then.
yeah.
apparently, that is something that somebody has used as a service animal, and that's why they included it.
Is it on IMG?
I'm looking at that right now.
I don't think it was an IMG.
So these are new. What?
It said, if a stray or wild animal appears, it's talking about that, but I'm trying to find
I mean, I just thought that's a little much.
Again, these are provided to us by the School Boards Association based on legal precedent or laws and regulations that have changed, so.
Mr. Murray, I do have one question there.
Yes.
For service animals on the teachers or the employee policy versus the student policy, if I read correctly, the employees can ask permission to have an animal as an emotional support animal, but students aren't allowed that. Would there be any reason why we would allow, I mean, and I'm just throwing this out there, the teachers to have that opportunity, but not the students? And I don't even know if we've ever had any issues in the district with this anyway, so.
I would think in both cases, it would be covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act and IDEA and Section 504.
And I could have misread it, but I don't think that it was on the student one, but it was on the teacher one. So it may just, if we think it should be there, maybe just review that one and.
It's on the
It
public
does say
one.
on the student one, it says service animal means a dog individually trained to do work or perform tasks for the benefit of an individual with a disability, including a physical, sensory, psychiatric, intellectual, or other mental disability.
Let me go back down here.
So I think
It's
that would
underneath that,
encompass-
the sentence she's talking about, I think, is on the, underneath that list of responsibilities. No.
I thought it specifically said could not be an emotional support on the student page. I'm sorry, I'm trying to
No, it's the
scroll
same, it's the
to
same thing on both
student.
GAA and JLCDD on that last sentence. The provision of emotional support, well-being, comfort, or companionship does not constitute work or task for the purpose of this definition. And that's the same on both policies.
Right.
'Cause on
And the
this-
public.
The staff portion, it actually specifically says emotional support animals and or comfort animals, and they may be considered a request for reasonable accommodation under ADA, But, oh, here it is for students, sorry. They weren't grouped together, apologize.
policy item D. Any other questions or concerns I can address right now?
I still don't see the same paragraph under the student section, but we can.
I'll review
we'll
that
talk about
language
that.
and
Yeah, we can address that
see what
later.
we can do. Next policy is policy EBC, which is a revision of the existing policy with all new clarifying language on emergencies. This is a policy which basically gives direction to the superintendent to create an effective emergency plan. Just as a quick summary. But it is updated language that is more, that is clarifying language to make it clear what's expected in that case. Any questions on that one? Policy GCOA highlights changes regarding the evaluation of instructional staff in relation to newly hired teachers from outside of South Carolina or outside the district. You'll see the highlighted areas. It primarily is related to first-year teachers who may be coming from out of state or coming from another district who may still be in their induction period, and how those situations need to be handled.
Which one?
Policy GCOA.
It's the evaluation of instructional staff.
Oh, is it the last one or something?
Yeah, they're not in order.
No, I grouped them
Oh,
together
okay.
after the
Yeah.
fact to try and
Yeah, it's
pull the
fine.
common
Just take us a
policies
second to
together.
find it.
Any questions or concerns on that one? That's more just a technical change mandated by the state. And finally, we have policies GBAA and JIAA. These are both updates to our staff and student sexual harassment policies, which incorporate new Title IX regulations specifying roles for which we must have people trained, such as investigators, decision makers, appellate decision makers, and others. It also requires that all district personnel receive basic training on sexual harassment, and that every employee is required to report any signs or information that may reflect a potential case of sexual harassment. So like we have mandated reporters for child abuse, all of our employees are now mandated reporters for any signs of sexual harassment as well. But the investigatory process is very thorough and detailed, so that we aren't putting all kinds of things into that category and having to spend a lot of time on it. That has to meet very specific criteria that's outlined in the policy and in the procedures that everybody's trained on. So the biggest hurdle with these two new policy, or these policy revisions, is the training process. We've already trained almost 800 of our employees with just the basic training on sexual harassment, and we're in the process of assigning different roles to other members of the staff. Our assistant principals will be our primary investigators in the schools. Our principals will be the primary decision makers. Our district office directors will be the primary appellate decision makers on all of these Title IX situations. And I will be honored to serve as the district's Title IX coordinator, overseeing and coordinating all of that.
Mr. Murray, on this one, on the, just, you know, in light of history, on the GBAA for staff, in the third paragraph, it says, investigations may occur even if the alleged victim does not file a complaint directly or wish to see action taken by the district or school administration. I mean, just so nothing's really left on the table or uncovered, should that just be that investigations will occur?
No, because the Title IX coordinator actually has the decision-making ability there. If somebody if a complaint comes to the Title IX coordinator and somebody who is the victim of that complaint does not want to file a complaint, the Title IX coordinator may still file a complaint if the Title IX coordinator believes there is sufficient evidence to warrant an investigation into that.
Okay.
Any questions on, and the two policies are basically the same for both staff and for students. Any questions on that? If not, then that is all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. We
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it. All right. Next on the agenda is Mr. Lawless.
After all the serious policy discussion, I know that everyone's ready for some lighthearted financial discussion. Our balance on hand with the treasurer as of September 30th was $4,431,693. Our revenues for the 3 months ended September 30th, general fund revenues were $7,380,404, with expenditures for that same period of $7,656,733, for a difference of $276,329. You would notice that the revenues were in line with prior year, same period, but we have had reduced expenditures, and I think that, general fund expenditures, and I think that that's, primarily due to our facilities not being fully open during this period. Total tax collections for the first 3 months, 271,000, or for the month of September, $271,507. Does anyone have any questions about the financial report?
What's the difference in our balance from year to year?
That carries over from last year. That's but part of it, a significant part of it, is actually still waiting for the CARES money reimbursements. We spent out a significant portion of the 1.6 million, and we spend that and then request reimbursement. So during the month of October, we've received a good bit of that back.
So it'll look better next month.
So it should.
We'll hold you to it.
Right, and then, and bear in mind, we are during the period of time where our balance on hand with the treasurer does continue to decline through the October, November. You'll recall that we passed a resolution authorizing the issuance of tax anticipation notes. That 5.5 million did go through. That is not included here. We are holding those funds in a separate account with the local government investment pool, hoping to not have to tap into them, but that is available if our balance with the treasurer dips too low.
So when the CARES money comes through, will it be reflected all here?
That money will go into the county treasurer report. Okay. So it will be reflected in the balance on hand with the treasurer, but it does not affect the general fund. Okay. The revenues and expenditures that we report is solely the general fund.
Okay.
But yeah, we do take money out of the county treasurer office to advance those funds for CARES projects, and so it will be back on deposit there. Any more questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Lawless. All right. Well, hearing no more questions, do I hear a request for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Martin, Mr. Hughes, all in favor, show of hands. Ayes have it. Thank y'all.